Hey Jason, what do you think about my new LWRC, man? 16-inch of goodness.
I mean, I like it, man. What you sitting at 0? I mean, 16 inches.
So just go to my range at 10 yards, pop up.
10 yards.
Yeah.
You know the bullet keeps on going, right? And like you have to like account for things.
So what? Yeah. Okay. I should still shoot.
What if you need to shoot 100 yards?
Yeah. I just point at 100 yards and then pop up. Good to go directly.
That's so much going on. Okay, let's talk about zeros and like why they're important and which one you should choose.
What do you mean even zero? Like, makes no sense.
Do math, man.
Welcome back to Class Farms, guys. Kai over here with Jason.
What's going on, folks?
And in this video, we're going to talk about that best zero for your AR-15. Now, there are a bunch of different zero options, but we're going to pick our favorite that we believe it's going to be do all. But we will explore every single one of them. So, a lot of folks out there going out there and buying their 16-inch chambered in 5.56 AR-15, and they're kind of trying to figure out which zero should I use. And we get those comments in the comment section of our other videos, or people just DM us on Instagram and whatnot. And we decided to kind of explore this topic and let you guys see for yourself. So what do you think about when it comes to zeroing your AR-15?
So it really comes down to like, what do you want to use it for, right? What's your purpose? What's your engagement zone? And then what you feel comfortable with. I mean, there's many vast differences in zeros. You got folks who have 25-yard zeros, 50-yard zeros, 36-yard zeros, 36-meter zeros. And then once you get into the more higher end optics or more magnified optics, you start to get in 100-yard zeros and how that carries out. So again, it depends. Mission dictates gear, and what do you plan on doing with it?
Exactly. So what you're going to be using it for, and it obviously dictates gear, as you said. Your barrel length has a lot to do with it. Your grain weight has a lot to do with it. In this case, we're going to talk about your good old, most standard 16-inch, 1 in 7, 1 in 8 twist AR-15, and with a good old 55 grain 5.56 ammunition. So I actually have this quick illustration right here that I want to just show to you guys. So I'm going to talk about that 50-yard zero just to give you an illustration, and then we're going to dive into the 25, 36, 50 obviously, and 100. Now, if you look at the, when it comes to zero, I want to basically talk about this. This applies to everything. You've got your line of sight right here, point of basically aim, right? And then you've got your point of impact. When it comes to 50-yard zero, we've got this straight line of sight. You're just looking directly at it, and that's your muzzle. When you have it zeroed into 50-yard, up to 50-yard, that trajectory is going to be below the line of sight. So that's going to be, when it comes to 50-yard zero, right around 2 inches, inch and a half, but it won't be more than 2 inches. And then right at 50, it'll cross that line of sight. So point of impact, point of aim is going to intersect. Then it goes above it, so it's got that arc. This applies to every single shooting, right? And it will come down at right at 200 yard, have that perfect zero. So 50 point of impact and 200 yard point of impact is going to be exactly the same. And that's basically explaining to you what is a point of impact and point of aim is. This applies to every single one of them. Now, if you look at it, I've actually written some of this stuff down here. So we've got 25-yard zero. That should be somewhere around 300 yard, but that's not exactly accurate. So that's give or take, right? Then, so if the downside of 25-yard zero is, I don't recommend it unless you really do know your trajectory, because at 25 yard, your muzzle is going to be canted a lot more. So once it actually crosses the 25 yard mark, which would be like right here, so once it crosses right here at 25, it's going to go higher. So once you pass 25, so between like 100 and 200 yards, so you're going to actually have 4 to 6 inches, like between 50 and 200, 4 to 6 inches high. So that's very important. So if you're going to go out there and actually zero your gun to a 25 yard, be very careful, because after 25 yard, that's going to go higher. Then you got your 36 yard that we talked about. The military folks use it a lot, of like close quarter battle thing.
A lot of guys use it. Marines really started using the 36-yard zero, and they've used that doctrine ever since. A lot of people have then started using the 36-meter zero because it tends to equal out over a little bit more of a vaster engagement zone. It being 30 yard or 300 yards being the average that every man could see in that optic or deal, even though qualification definitely is 500 yards. So.
Exactly. So 36 yard is great for close quarter battle, right? So you're going to basically have very little shift, like an inch or so. You get into a close room like this, bang, 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 you're good to go. You're going to be pretty accurate. But again, once it crosses the point of impact, you'll have that trajectory is going to be a little bit higher than your 50 yard. That's why we're going to come down to 50 yard zero, and then I'm going to talk about 100. 50 yard is going, as I explained, it has point of impact 50, obviously that's what the zero is, and then 200. And between that, even before 50, you're going to have about 2 inches below the line of sight. And after 200, like even 250 yards, you're going to have basically below, no more than 2 inches.
Right.
So your variations, like that round being below your line of sight or above your line of sight, like that, is not going to be anything more than 2 inches, which is fantastic. So if you're going to zero at 50 yards and you have an engagement at 125 yards, right? Pop, you do it. You just aim dead center. You're going to hit right around 1.5-ish above where you were aiming if you're really steady with it, which is actually very, very good. We've seen like law enforcement. When I was in law enforcement, whether that was in federal government or local or state, we zeroed our guns at 50 yards. It is absolutely fantastic when it comes to mid-range engagements, like you go past 250 yards, and very good for close quarter engagements as well. Again, I'm talking about like 2 inches difference, give or take.
Right.
That's not bad at all.
And especially that really does pay like plenty of mind to, especially when you are not in that nominal range. So anything that's close quarters or 10 yards and in, you really need to take into consideration the height over bore drop that you're going to actually have due to your zero and how it's primed for it. So just bear that in mind.
Exactly, and we've all seen that video, you guys should definitely check it out. A law enforcement officer engaged this guy at 189 yards. Right, it was just one shot. The person went down. Obviously, the officer was very steady with that gun, but he just, if you look at his testimony, he just aimed dead center and the guy was down. 189 yards, and that gun was 0 to 50 yards.
And what fueled him was Zins and White Monster.
That's right. Was that coffee? I think he was drinking some coffee, right? Something like he just put down. Yeah.
Yeah, coffee and Zins for sure.
Exactly.
And a Hydra mount.
And a Hydra mount.
That's exactly. You're right. So that gun was 0 to 50 yards. So when you up to 250 yards ish, like point and shoot at 50 yards, you're going to be pretty much right there. Now 100 yards. Now 100 yards is a little bit different. So this is really good for like beginners or people who come from the long range shooters or hunting applications. Basically, this is your line of sight. Point of aim, right? Line of sight. This flat line. Your muzzle is down there. So you zero your gun to 100 yards. Your point of impact, basically crossing the line of sight, is going to be right at 100 yards. And from there, it'll just start coming down, right? But before 100 yards, you're going to have, a couple of inches or so, you're going to shoot a little bit lower. So you got to kind of lift that muzzle up. And it will drop rapidly. Past 100 yards, that's the downside of it, right? I just wrote down here, it's going to have rapid drop past 100 yards. So you got to be able to kind of identify that drop or just guesstimate it if you're going to go even further than that. And it's not going to be ideal for CQB as I wrote down here. Now, I don't want to drop this thing. Now, I don't want to obviously say you can't do CQB with it, because back in the day, law enforcement was zeroing their guns at 100 yards and they were just doing just fine. But 50 is that sweet spot. Now, obviously, we talk about the zeroing. This is all with 16-inch barrel, 1-in-7, 1-in-8 twist, about 55 grain. Now, when we include your barrel length and your grain weight changes, things do actually affect. So if you go, let's say this 16-inch, I got the LWRC over here, 16-inch barrel right here. If I zero this thing to 50 yards, right, and I'm shooting 77 OTM, grain 5.56, well, because it's going to fly slower than the 55 grain, what is that, like 2,700 feet per second?
So give or take 350 feet per second, 250, depends on like who makes the ammunition, but yes.
Exactly. Right. So it's going to fly a little bit slower, although bullet coefficient is going to be better on a longer 77 grain weight ammunition, but still it's flying slower. So therefore, at 200 yards, you're not going to have that dead center impact you would have with a 55 grain.
Right.
You go about 1.5 inches or so lower because it's dropping a little bit faster. Right. So that's what it is. Now, if you do that with 55 grain, let's just drop the barrel length to, I don't know, like 11.5 inch.
12.5.
Right? 12.5, something like that. And you zero this thing at 50 yards, guess what? You're going to have that 50-yard impact. That's not going to change, whether that's 77 grain or that's 12.5 inch barrel. But when it comes to coming down, you're going to see about almost 2 inches drop. Because of the barrel length, you're also going to have less velocity. So at the end of the day, it's going to drop quicker. So all of that stuff factors in. But based on 16-inch barrel, 1 7 or 8 twist, 55 grain, all of these things basically, or what I just said, are spot on. And 50-yard zero is my by far absolute favorite one, unless you're some specialty guy.
So what that really comes down to, which one is right for you, right?
Yeah.
The 25-meter zero, the 50-meter zero, the 100-yard zero, or 36. It really depends on what you plan on doing for your mission focus. So obviously everything that Kai referenced was pretty primarily due to a red dot, but as you can see here, I've got 2, actually 3 if you count, the irons on the side, optic systems here. So I tend to do things a little different when it comes to it, and I set this up for pretty much nominally what I'm going to use it for. So when it comes to anything that's magnified, i.e. being like, MPVO or LPVO, I tend to use the 100-meter zero or the 100-yard zero, just due to the fact of I want that trajectory to be as straight as I possibly can, and then if I need to do math after that, I can have a better carryover when it comes to either holding over what I need to catch my wind calls or anything like that to then engage my target.
So that LPVO is 0 to 100 yards?
100 meters,
Okay.
zero.
Right.
On top, I've got my 12 o'clock dot, which is actually at the 50-yard zero.
Okay.
So if I need to do anything within engagement zones when it comes to that, anything that's in 50 meters, or even within 200 meters, because I can do that as well, I've got this as a quick reference point so that in case I don't feel like doing quick math, I've got something here at the ready that I can.
What's your grain weight on zeroing these?
So with these, normally I'll do 62 grain.
Okay.
That's just something that's a sweet spot for me. I'm still getting that speed that I need without it being too much of a heavy projectile that's actually going to slow it down. And we chronoed this to actually come out to be right at about 2701, 2601, depending on ammo. Again, standard deviation happens with manufacturers of ammo and who you're getting it from. But right there, 2,700 feet per second, out of a 12.5, it's still pretty spicy. So.
Yeah, and between 55 grain and 62 grain, your deviations aren't going to be all that drastic. No. I'd give it maybe inch, maybe less, slightly.
Give or take.
Yeah, somewhere right around that. But you guys see that. So Jason has a completely different setup. He's got his 12.5. He's got a red dot for 50 yard, which is great. The reason, why did you go 50 yards?
So 50 yards is I treat this as a red dot, right? Just like how you treat that as.
Yep.
So to me, it keeps it simple, stupid, and keeping a KISS method. I like the 50-yard zero. I'd like the 36-yard zeros. 36-yard zero to me tend to have to do a little bit more math when anything is past 100 yards. So that's just me. Again, different structure, different folks, man. I understand the 36-yard works, and people have been using that for days on end. I get it. Yeah, but for me, it just keeps it simple, stupid. 100-yard zero, 50-yard zero, 50-yard. Call it a day.
Exactly. 100-yard zero is definitely great for beginners, right? You just basically 100 yards and you're good to go. And the only thing beyond 100 is just rapid drops. So just calculate that. 50 yard, I've always used 50 yard. All my rifles are zeroed in. I'm a red dot guy, right? Red dot magnifier. I'll go 50 straight up, and it's been serving me really well, and it's a proven system. Yeah. So it's one of those things that, like, almost foolproof, as I just explained earlier. Like, you literally, even before 50, like closer than 50 yards, if you just go dead center, you're gonna have maximum 2 inches lower than what you're aiming at, but depending on the distance, probably an inch,
right?
Which is not bad at all. And you pass, so between 50 and 200 meters or 200 yards, you're gonna have maximum 2 inches above what you were aiming at, which is freaking still good. You go up to 250 yards, you're gonna have maximum 2 inches lower than where you were aiming at. So 0 to 250, you're just deviating about that much. So that's why law enforcement chooses it, because it's extremely important. We are responsible for every single round that we fire. It's foolproof. I love it. It works. I'm not going to fix something that's not broken. But there are other applications like you said, 36 yard, great for CQB. Some special guys, special forces guys, they use that. But that's, in my personal opinion, a specialty one.
Yep.
But just know, when you're firing this thing, the bullet is not just going straight. You always have your muzzle, in a way, the way you zero it, it's kind of up. Up trajectory goes in, crosses the point of impact, then at one point it comes back.
I mean,
cross again.
In all inherent parts, to even simplify it even more, it's like throwing a football. At one point is going to enter at this point, which is going to be equal to the exit point as it falls. So there you go.
Exactly. So just like that.
An arc.
Yep. In a nutshell, that's about it. That's why I wanted to kind of give you guys some illustration on the 100 yards, because that is really, a lot of people do that, and 50 yards, and still touch base on a couple other options out there too. Be really careful about doing 25 yards though. So it really does increase your trajectory goes pretty much 4 or 6 inches, depending on distance, even higher.
And we get that. A lot of indoor ranges, their maximum is only 25 yards, but there's plenty of actual training aids that can get you a 25-yard zero, but actually get you zero for 50 yards.
That's right.
So just bear that in mind. Just there's plenty of places you can Google that on.
Exactly. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section, guys. What is your favorite zero when it comes to your good old 5.56 16-inch AR-15, or whatever your barrel length is, whatever your grain weight is? What is it? Let us know and tell us why.
And maybe we should do other zeros, like pistol dot zeros. What is your favorite pistol dot zero? 10 yards, 15 yards, 25
100%.
yards?
Subsonic ammo works different.
True.
That is.
And you know what?
Everything.
Subsonic, exactly.
Totally different.
Precisely. It completely changes the game because, again, I talked about grain weight, right? Earlier, like 77 grain. Why did I talk about that? Because it will fly slower.
Correct.
Therefore, it's going to have a different trajectory. It's going to come down sooner, all of that stuff. Gravity is going to overpower that. Now, subsonic ammo, it does fly under 1,100 feet per second, under 1050. So it's going pretty slow, and a big, really big a round. So that's going to arc down, drop a lot faster. So you really have to account all of that to your calculations as well.
You could be holding a man-sized target 9 foot above them.
Exactly.
Depending on your yardage.
So there, exactly, there's that. So let us know your thoughts in the comment section, guys. What are your thoughts? And if you guys want us to do some, maybe how to zero your rifle at the range, just let us know your thoughts. We'll be reading the comment section and kind of go with that. So, and what do you think? You want to add anything else, or you want to go to